not chilling you.
I would love to have a trophy on my shelf, just because it's impressive, isn't it? Good morning.
Good morning.
I want you to know, I think my signature is on that charter.
That's correct.
Oh, wow, cool.
Yes, ma'am.
This church has gone through change after change after change, but it has many years where those changes have been transitions into...
I better take that.
My purse is right down here. And this church started in the living room of some people in Orlando, and it expanded, and it was in a storefront for a while in Winter Park. Yes, I was there. And that was so many years ago, some of you weren't even born yet. Okay, so what I wanted to talk about today, because that applies to it a lot, and I am going to put this over here so I don't knock it and bend it or do something drastic. And I'm not wearing my mask this morning, and my purpose is because I'm coughing a lot. And no, I'm not infectious. Most recently, Friday, I went to see a doctor, and my temperature was just fine. Thank you. And so, but in all fairness, just so that you all are understand and know, is that I am coughing, and it is a condition in my throat, because if you notice, I have a sexy voice now. It wasn't always there like this, but it's there right now. But if I do start coughing, there are some people here in the audience that I know will cough with me just to make me feel comfortable and okay. If you want to chime in, that's fine. It hangs on for just a little while. So I'm talking today about coping with change. And coping with change for any of us can provide a sense of hope. And right now, I don't know about you, but I could really use a little dose of it, a little extra dose of it, maybe even an IV drip. Because our lives have altered, whether those conditions are extreme or whether they are minor. But for all of us, we have experienced an alteration, a difference, something that may not be our standard of our own life or our experience. And so today, it is to provide you and me with a sense of greater hope for tomorrow and this afternoon and the rest of our days, whatever those are. And the exciting thing with that is that the Spirit of us wants to play. Now, I realize that that can sound disrespectful, and it's not intended to. But the Spirit of us works best at play. Lighthearted, easy, and our natural law and our understanding of natural laws in the spiritualist churches is the fact of understanding how those energies are affected within each of our bodies, within our own mental and emotional states, and within our environment, our homes, our job situations, or offices, or places of employment. Whatever those energies provide, they can provide a shift and a change and an opportunity of feeling a little bit more hope at any moment, at any time. You all just laughed a little bit, I'll pay you later. But in having that little bit of levity, or levitation as it's often termed, it allows us to not have that sense of gravity. And there's a law of gravity as well. So the things that can pull us down, or the things that can make us feel heavy-hearted, or whatever you want to call it, or whatever you want to term it, those are real. Loss is real. Grief is real. But that playful spirit is always there right behind some of those extreme experiences and some of those great disappointments or challenges. Everyone here has lived through challenges for their own life. Yours may be very different from mine, but it may makes mine no less or no more. So coping with change can give any of us a sense of hope. So as life changes and we suddenly have masks, and some people do not want to wear them, I'm not on strike, I just can't easily stand up here and start talking inspirationally and then have the backlash that can occur with having to breathe in, breathe in, breathe in. So I'm trying to provide you with an opportunity to hear me within a short period of time rather than a longer distance time where I may have to take breaks. The feeling that I have about masks doesn't matter. My opinion about masks doesn't matter. But what does matter is us. So we hear these phrases like, we're all in this together. And yet, I don't know about you, but I don't feel like we're all in this together. I feel parts. You know parts? And parts are parts. So when we are unified about something, anything, it can be an absolutely wonderful experience. And it can be that time of unity. And even the cells of our body can feel that. Many of you sat here and enjoyed the moments of quiet in the healing. Well, healing takes place not because you are around a person who's a healer necessarily, that can be a part of it, but because of the fact that there can be that sense within your being where you levitate those thoughts for just that moment and you allow yourself to let loose of perhaps the gravity of what may be hanging on, holding on, whether it's physical pain, whether it's personal disappointment, whether it's uncertainty. Whether it's uncertainty. I have quotes all over my bathroom and all over my computer desk and all over my kitchen refrigerator and even in the cupboards. So if you come over, you can be sure to find something. And one of the quotes in the bathroom says, "It's never too late to worry. And it's never too early to worry." I'm going to repeat that. It's never too late to worry. Did you think about it? And it's never too early to worry. So when we worry about something we can't control, what happens? It becomes bigger maybe. It starts off, you know, the little fish in Texas, the little fish, and how the little fish becomes a bigger fish. You know this story. It's so old. It's not even a story, really. It's about somebody telling you they caught a fish, and they might have caught a little one, and they had to throw back in the water, but they don't tell you that. You know, it becomes like this. Remember that one? Okay. And then it, you know, becomes a dolphin size, and then it goes into whale version, and that's really overloaded, you know? So what happens for us, fear does that. And so what happens as a small concern that we have about anything can go like this, right? Somebody nod yes. I just want to make sure I'm not boring you to tears here. Okay. Well, I just want you to know that my faucets are dripping. Well, you wouldn't think that's a big deal, would you? Well, what happens when the toilet's not working either, right? So then there's moi. She's not really good with wrenches and screwdrivers, but she does try. But you don't want her to try at your house. So what happens is I start watching the faucets drip. Do any of you do this? And you watch, and you just watch it do it, and then you just tighten it as best you can with your hands and the handles, and then you get out of the room. Isn't that how it works? And so remember, it's never too late to worry. So a part of me lets it go and lets it go, lets it go, and then the toilet's not flushing right, but I'm not going to get caught up in that one either, just because it's the downstairs toilet, and the main bathroom not to worry. Remember the fish? Okay, so what happens with change? We do the same thing. So I contacted a friend because getting a handy person to my home has been like trying to do the gardening, and I'm not much of a gardener in that. Anyway, but that's a whole other story. But anyway, I got a lot of fish. Anyway, but what I'm getting at here is, how do you cope with the things that concern you so that you can move into changes without them becoming big, without them becoming bigger than they need to become, without them becoming dolphins or whales, you know, that size? So I contacted a friend, and he came over, and he did this, and he did that, and he did this, and he did that, and then he said, what you need is yada, yada, and he'll come back, and, you know, part of me wants to just, I just want to surround him in gold or something. You know, how do I stay with me here? You know, it's like, so what happens for you in jobs, in schools, in anything you're experiencing, we've had all kinds of amazing things occur. You know, people couldn't register online for unemployment. Computers go down. We're told every day, don't vote by mail, vote by mail, don't vote by mail, vote by mail. And all I'm telling you is, please vote. I don't care how you do it, just vote. Your opinion's important. Okay, so we get this all day, don't you? And so then we have people that watch CNN all day, or we go a lot of places where they got TV monitors, and so we're reminded of the hurricane in the Gulf. And this is not to be discompassionate for all those people out there who've had to embrace it. But what I'm saying is, if you lived through 2004 in Florida, we had 4 hurricanes in a row. I mean, it became blue tarp heaven, and you know, it's like, and so it's the adrenaline. The minute I see it on TV, the minute I think of the dripping faucets, the minute I don't have enough gas in the car, I could have 120 miles left to be able to drive in my car and think I need to get gas. Huh? Whatever happened to going on E? We've all done that, haven't we? Where you travel on E for a little while. And if you don't do that, you ought to try it. So we talk in spiritualism about spirit and life after death, and it is extremely important and extremely significant for this church's founding understanding and philosophy and its religious content. But there's also so much more that we can add. So while a lot of you may have been drawn to understanding about life after death, which is extremely helpful and important to all of us, there's this whole thing called life, and how do you deal with coping with change? So change is happening. How are you dealing with it? And what are you doing? And are you keeping your sense of humor? And are you able to see how some of the changes that don't look good, they can turn and twist and have a little different outcome of importance in the way you will live with them in the future? All of our lives are going to be different. They had to go out of business, Sweet Tomatoes. My life's going to be different. I love that restaurant. Bed Bath & Beyond. You know, you could walk around and stare at all the things you ever wanted to buy and couldn't. It was wonderful. But those are just a couple of things. And they're things. And there's new creative ideas coming every day. And there's people being very innovative. And there's people helping people. And that, to me, is where we're going with humanity. Where we can step back 2 feet to observe the world. And then step forward 4 feet to say, I'm here. How can I participate? So it's not about you have to do this or you have to do that, or it's important for you to spend this or buy that. What's important is that you can feel that eagerness within you of wanting to participate in anything. And it doesn't have to be something that is financially successful for the rest of the world, but it has to be something that's fulfilling for you, because coping with change offers a sense of hope. And it's never too early to worry. So if you're worried about what's happening at the end of the month, it does not mean that's wrong to do that. Because many of you have bills to pay, families to maintain or support. That's not the point. The point is, do what you can do, take the steps toward what you can do, and then the rest is what? It's not just a blind trust that life will work it out. But what it is, it's an opportunity for you to align with the universe, because the universe will always want to help you. Have you noticed? Have you ever noticed that in the darkest days or the most difficult times, something springs out of it? It's an opportunity, a new choice, something maybe you hadn't even thought of, and yet it was there. And one thing in your life that is real is, you never go from more to lesser if you really look. Because we can see things change financially, or we can see things happen with our homes or our communities or even our state or our country. But that doesn't mean that those changes will take us from more to less. They will take us to more if we watch and if we participate. So the hope is real. The steps you take are very valid. And something that I notice with the people that I speak with in terms of readings and in groups such as this one this morning or classes and workshops that are taught is the fact that everybody wants to feel valued. Valued for what they are, not for who they should be, but who they are. And no one else has the right to determine your value. I don't care who it is. I don't care how important you think they are. No one has that right. And you know why? Have you ever really thought about it? They're not in your skin. You are. And when you're in here, no one else, I don't care how intuitive, smart, educated, capable, successful, rich, doesn't matter. They don't have the right. So the incredible thing with that is, you can be anything you want. And it doesn't mean that you have to have the approval of other people, but a lot of people look to a spouse, a companion, a lover, a parent, to dictate or tell them who they are and how valuable they are. And what occurs with that is, if we're always looking to the outside, we've forgotten that the inside is something always to cherish and always to keep safe and always to nurture. And how we nurture isn't because life is always rosy. Because if you haven't known pain, how did you ever know what joy felt like? It's important to understand that coping with change is a personal thing and how you do it. And that was kind enough to mention the little booklet I wrote. It's last read. And when I wrote it, it was just because I wanted people to have a sense that to me the infinite that resides within each and every one of us at all times, not just when we pray, not just when you're in a church, not just when you're desperate. Always, always, always is everything and one thing more. And it's that new thought, it's that new breath, it's that new blink of your eye, it's that new relationship you're unfolding, it's that new idea that you might have, it's that new inspiration you might try. And it might be over something seemingly insignificant to any other human being, but it might be good for you. I may have told this in this group, so I'm sorry if I'm repeating. I never know when I've said what I've said before and then everybody's getting bored. But just don't yawn and we're fine. But you can yawn under your masks and I won't know. Okay, so years ago, and this is when I wore a younger woman's clothes and I was in college. No, I flunked out of college. Anyway, somewhere in there. Okay, and I was living over in Orlando on Michigan. Way over there. Yes, I did. Okay, and I decorated a lampshade. You know, it's like my decorator skills came out. Okay, I decorated it, you know, glue, you know, Elmer's glue with one hand, and a package of elbow macaroni. The one thing I forgot to do was after I created a flower out of elbow macaroni and a circle around the flower, and it really looked very pretty on a burlap lampshade with a yellow base, and it was really kind of nice. But I forgot to spray some acrylic or some coating on it. So a couple months later, I came out one morning and there was all this stuff on the table. Well, the roaches. They like elbow macaroni too. But you know what? It was just a moment in time. And it wasn't a catastrophe. And it wasn't terrible. And how many things in our life do we make big fish? And how many of them are not life-threatening? I learned that wonderful quote years ago to ask myself, is this life-threatening? Some things really are dangerous for our physical bodies. But there's a whole bunch of stuff out there that when you think about it, it's never too late to worry. And it's never too early to worry. All of you are coping with change in your life in some form right now. And you're all doing an excellent job. And you know why? Because I'm not judging it, and I'm not that intuitive to get all of you all at once. That would be a chore. But I will tell you the reason that I feel that you're doing a good job is because you're here, you're able to laugh, or you're able to congregate, or you're able to even get out of the house. This is a time when people are hitting depression. This is a time when people are hitting some really, really deep spaces and places within themselves. And the important thing about all of it is to remember that Nala, you took a wonderful, you know, that's a really lot of stuff to read. But anyway, but you did. You really agreed to some really fine things in your life. And the best to you in your pursuit. And I have actually been involved in spiritualism for 50 years. And for 7 of those, I had training. So if you scooted around, so did I. And if you scooted back, so did I. So be very gentle with the route that you took, just knowing it can lead to other things you don't even imagine. I never dreamed I'd be up here. I never dreamed I'd be doing this work. I don't come from a background of metaphysics. metaphysical people or people that read cards in their kitchen when I was 2. I didn't have that. But what I did have was a place within me that wanted to discover. And you have that. And it's a wonderful place that will always want to discover, and it's that infinite, and it's that place within you that wants to know things, that everything, there's everything, and there's always one thing more. You're going to go out there today, and you don't know what this afternoon will bring. But what you do know is that you have opportunity to keep your eyes and your heart open and to see what the changes are. Because I drive into Orlando and I'm amazed at the changes, even on the roads when I drive in, that are constantly going on. The hard part is when we fight that or when we resist it. So what happens when we resist change or we resist wearing the mask or whatever is sometimes we're forgetting that we really are all here together. And it doesn't mean you have to give up you. And it doesn't mean you have to give up your home, and it doesn't mean that you have to do anything different. But what you can do is just stretch a little to know that all of these people here, you could go down these roads and you could ask everybody, how you doing? And everybody could tell you about something that might be like my dripping faucets. So, you know what? So we took off the nozzles to the faucets, and I soaked them in white vinegar overnight as I was directed. And I put them on this morning, and guess what? They're still